Hello, hello. This is Josh with the Synchronized Universe podcast, giving you an update because I've been clearly slacking. Been a couple weeks since I've posted anything on here. I've recorded some stuff, but I've deleted it and whatnot because I haven't had the chance to edit them. Um, this app is kind of sometimes wonky to use. But in any case, I'm here now, and since Alex is the one that convinced me to do this, there's your shout out, Alex, my friend and coworker. Inspired me to do this today because I worked with him all day. But honestly, just wanted to give you an update and talk about some things that I've been reading online and honestly express my opinion on such matters. One of the matters that I want to express my opinion on is if you've ever wondered, those of us that are critical thinkers in the world, and, it's getting more numerous. I'm starting to see more and more critical thinkers. One thing you'll notice about the way articles in the news and the way, the media is what they try to do is get you to choose a side on something. And if you notice that, that's one of the first steps you can, to realizing the game here. So they absolutely want you to choose a side and absolutely want you to hate the other side. And a lot of times they share opinion-based articles that are honestly not grounded in fact. And when you actually research the stuff, it falls apart. But the problem is they are fully aware that most, if not, I would say strong, 90% of people do not actually research into the stuff. They just react on these, social media threads, which generates, people coming and looking at this thread and generates revenue ultimately. And it's been a thing for quite a long time. They'll post something. So say you'll have a title of an article. I'll give you an example here. There'll be a title of an article. And if you actually read the article, the title of the article has very little to do with the actual article. And that's done because, again, most people do not take the time to read this stuff. They'll see this offensive headline and then they'll comment and they'll comment and they'll comment, which will cause other people to get in the comments and argue, thus generating ad revenue and all that neat stuff. And that's the game. But unfortunately, it not only, does it generates, clicks and whatnot, clicks and likes for these companies. Reactions are money ultimately. But it generates people, fighting amongst each other over just nothing, stuff that doesn't even matter. And it's been such a common thing, and it's getting worse and worse and worse about stuff, is, specifically politics issues. Like the last, 3 years, the COVID, the virus years, we're going to call that, because I'm not going to say the word because I don't want to get deplatformed here. But we'll call it the viral years here. Have just generated this weird divide now. So before you could be a Democrat or a Republican. Now everybody who's a Democrat is apparently the worst person in the world, and everybody who's a Republican is now a racist bigot. And it's how do we get to this point? How do we get to the point where every single person in an entire group is labeled as these things? Or what do they call Democrats? Libtards, or whatever the whatever the things that they call these folks. But it's just nonsense. I see the people destroying each other online every single day. I'll have my friends that are Republicans post all these things, and they'll be roasting the Democrats and they're doing God's work and etc. And then I'll have all the Democrat people that I know post all this stuff saying that Republicans are all evil, they're bigots, and this and that, and they don't realize that honestly they sound exactly the same. And that's the first step. And I know people will scoff at that, no, they're all definitely evil. No, I promise you, you sound the same. And you sound exactly like my 6-year-old and my 10-year-old when they argue about nonsense. We must remember, these people work for the same, they're on the same side of the tree. 2 arms, 1 bird. 2 wings, 1 bird, I mean. To think that they actually hate each other is so absolutely silly. This is a show. It's a theater, political theater. Like, and people eat this stuff up like it's 100% real, and it's crazy to me. Like, again, Abraham Lincoln said it best: "The house divided cannot stand." That's why there's a division, because if there was unity, we could actually accomplish things in the world. But there's so much division on issues that we can't accomplish anything. Like, you'll have a Republican president, do some things for 4 years, then you'll have a Democratic president who wants to undo that. And then you'll have a Republican president the next time, and he wants to undo all the things that the Democratic president did. And so we accomplished nothing. Like, 100% nothing. One of the wealthiest countries in the world, and, like, we can't solve the most basic of things in our country. It's crazy. Because we're constantly being kept at each other's throats about nonsense. And ultimately, I will never choose a side. 100%. The American political system is a fraud. George Carlin said it best. He said, you have the ability to vote because it's, I'm trying to think of the exact quote here, but you don't actually have any rights. They want you to think that you have these rights. They want you to think that you have the power, but ultimately you have owners. We have owners. The wealthy business interests, the corporate masters that we have, that is who is running this country. The military-industrial complex. Like, you got to get it out of your head that, this political guy is going to save us or this political guy is going to save us. None of them are. Like, ultimately, we are the ones that have to save ourselves. And how do we do that? Well, first of all, we definitely need to look at our political system, realize that all these people that have been in office for like 47 years or 100 years or whatever are completely out of touch with the day-to-day world, while we're kept, trying to pick the president and arguing about who's president. The people that are, in the House and Congress have sat in there. They are the ones with the power. And they consistently keep getting reelected. And honestly, it wouldn't even matter if we did focus on it, because obviously the election system is not, anybody that thinks it's ultimately secure is ridiculous. You cannot look at the way things have gone over the past several years and tell me that, something fishy is not happening. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to go and say that the election was stolen. I'm not a Republican fan. I don't want people to start thinking that I'm a Trump fan. I need you to get that out of your head. What I am for is for the truth. If somebody, if everybody is saying something, the news media is destroying somebody every single day, to me, it makes me trust that person more. That is the honest to God truth. If the news media is doing everything in their power to destroy somebody, you need to be looking in to that person. You need to look at non-news sources. And people are like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. So, again, the news is obviously being manipulated. If the viral years have taught us anything, the past 3 years, we know that the news is being used as a weapon. Social media is being used as a weapon. Watch the documentary on Netflix called The Great Hack. And it's not about the elections being hacked. What it is about weaponized software being used on social media to target people with ads, and literally can change your mind. Because, like, most people, again, have absolutely no idea exactly how much data these companies have on you, like Facebook, Twitter. Like, it is staggering. And that whole documentary is about a dude who tried to get his data from this company called Cambridge Analytica so they could see all these points of data that they had on these people. And I promise you, if you ever want to know about this stuff, go to aboutads.info. It'll tell you the different tracking mechanisms that companies use to harvest your data. And it is wild. It is not as simple as, just showing you ads. It's everything. Like, they're tracking you through the way your phone, the gyrosphere, I don't know what do you call that, where you move the phone around, like, whatever. Anyway, something along those lines where you move your phone around. There's all kinds of crazy, off-the-wall things you would never think of that are used to track you. And they realized during, the Hillary Clinton Trump thing that they could use social media as a weapon. And this, from the documentary, and I quote, this is military-grade software that was being used for this stuff. So again, the world we live in and the elections and all this stuff, like the idea that there could be a fair election in this country with it in its current state is just a sham. Like, the stuff about Trump, did he win? Did he not win? Did he get the election stolen? Has been a hot button issue. And, it's near impossible to prove. Like, the thing about it is most of the people that are committing these things, like in these higher office spots, are obviously well-versed in law, well-versed in law, and they know how to cover their tracks. And to think otherwise is you're just not keeping your eyes open, man. Like, again, I'm not going to try to sit here and say that the election was stolen from Trump or anything like that. I'm not a Trump fan. I honestly thought he was a jackass. So anybody who wants to roll down that path and say that I'm a Trumper and blah, 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 I know, because you're automatically, so people are incapable of seeing the middle ground. They automatically got to put people in categories. Automatically, I'm going to be put as a Trumper and I'm a bigot, etc. That's the most ignorant thing ever. But that's what we do. We want to pick a side. It's got to be all or nothing. It can't be in the middle. The fact is, Dave Chappelle he shared this thing that Trump said. He said, he did a little skit talking about how we're coming to the end of the Trump era. And he said he thinks that's silly because, like, he described a time when it was like a debate between Hillary Clinton and him, right? So he said that the system is rigged. And he says, how do I, the questioner, how do you know the system is rigged? What proof do you have? He says, the system is rigged because I've used it. And what he's talking about is the tax system. So, like, when they're talking about people trying, where's Donald Trump's taxes? How come he's never paid taxes? There is loopholes in the tax codes where you do not, like, that's how the rich people avoid paying taxes. You're not going to get the rich to pay taxes. The tax the rich crap is a myth. We would have to change the entire tax code. And do you think that these rich folks are going to do that? Do you think all these millionaires in office are going to do that? No, it is an absolute lie. Like, that is not going to occur. So the fact is, the tax stuff only applies to us, to the working class, the people actually making the money. That is the problem in our country. At least one of them, because we got quite a bit. Like, these rich, again, he came out national TV. That's why people support him. He's been absolutely upfront about the crazy things that are going on behind the scenes. And immediately, throughout his entire presidency, the media destroyed him. Every single chance they could possibly get, they were on him about absolutely everything because, in all honesty, the dude was not playing ball. And again, if you put your emotions to the side, looked into the stuff, instead of just thinking, oh yes, he was racist, he was a bigot, and looked into the things like that they're telling you that he is, and like actually read the articles, read the speeches that he said, instead of them taking these little clips out of context and showing them to you, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. But what was the rest of it? That is the problem. That is a lot. That's what's going on. You cannot believe everything you see on the TV, on the social media, because it's all edited. Anything can be edited. Anything can be faked. Like, this is stuff to keep in mind when you're researching and when you see something that gets you all in your feelings. Perhaps, just maybe, it was designed to get you in your feelings. It was designed to generate a reaction out of you. Why would they want that? Again, because it drives up likes, drives up, hey, we get all these people to read this. The idiots of society are going to accept it as fact. And, dude, has that just been a case over and over and over again? Like, people just eat stuff up that they read without questioning it. They think automatically if it's on the news, it's got to be true. And that's not freaking true. The news posts a ton of opinion stuff, or they spin it in such a way that it fits their political narrative. You'll have Fox News spewing the Republican side, and then you'll have CNN spewing the liberal side of this stuff. And both of them are, telling the same exact story, just on the opposite of the political spectrum. And what is that for? To keep people fighting each other. Because if we were to come together as a country, we would realize that the rich are manipulating the rest of us. I'm not talking about Jeff Bezos. I'm not talking about Elon Musk. I'm talking about the people behind the scenes. The people, the millionaires in political office. All that neat stuff. Like, that's who I'm talking about. The freaking, that's who we should be investigating. The millionaires that have, people that have made millions in office. Like, how do you do that? Why have you been in there for 37 years and have millions of dollars and are able to do insider tradings? Like, seriously. Like, normal people get arrested for that stuff. Martha Stewart went to jail for insider trading, but it's okay for like someone like Nancy Pelosi, right? And that's, that brings me to another thing. This whole Pelosi thing, like her husband, or whatever, got attacked with the hammer. Like, anybody who can look at the facts from that story and believe it, you need to go get your head checked by the doctor, because that is absolute nonsense. 100% nonsense right before the election times. And I called it right when I seen the news article, right, before they even, gave us the whole story. I knew that they were going to pin it on an extremist Republican person. He was going to, I'm sure, have a bunch of social media posts that were QAnon related, etc. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. You think that's a freaking coincidence? Or do you think it's somebody trying to manipulate the game? Like, oh, these radical Republicans are going to try to take us out, and January 6th this and January 6th that, and blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my goodness. It's crazy. Like, and that's all there, a lot of people's defense lately is like, anytime you talk about like Trump, oh, January 6th. Like, again, I've read everything that everybody else read. Not once did he say, go fuck the Capitol up and, kill cops or whatever it was. Again, none of these rioters or whatever killed any cops. It's freaking nonsense on both sides. Like, again, I'm going to reiterate, I am not a Republican, nor am I a Democrat. All of it's nonsense. Like, they talk about that crap over and over again on CNN, for example, and they ignore the, we're burning down cities and, a lot of federal buildings in Portland were attacked and bombed and firebombed. So many of this kind of stuff. But this one thing, a lot of those riots and stuff resulted in deaths as well. Like, crazy amounts of stuff, crazy amounts of property damage. And yes, I'm aware of the cause. And it was a terrible thing that happened to that man. I'm fully aware. But again, we are dealing with two ways that they're presenting this news. One news is condemning it, while the other one is like, oh yes, it needed to happen because of this and that. We need to go out. And there's been plenty of times on the news that they've outright called for violence. They've outright come out and said, you need to be out in the streets doing this. Like, but not once, again, did fucking Donald Trump, or freaking, my bad, I'm cussing too much, get a little fired up. Did Donald Trump actually say, hey, you need to go freaking riot the Capitol and break into the federal building, etc.? Like, that never occurred. They've never been able to pin it on him. They've never been... Notice that? You notice how the man hasn't gone to jail? There's been a guy that's in my break room, like, he's like, oh, they're going to get him eventually. No, they're not. You out of your damn mind. This is all a show, dude. They're wasting how many millions of dollars to try to get this man, but they can't get him because he honestly didn't do anything on that one. That's not him. It's like the same thing. Like, people are like, oh, Hunter Biden's going to answer for his crimes or whatever. Nope, that's never going to happen, dude. You out of your damn mind. His dad is the president of the United States. These people they don't have to follow the same laws that we do. And yes, that sounds silly, but it's obvious for anybody who's paying attention, man. Like, the rich, the powerful, the political leaders are not subject to the same rules that we are. And that's the cold, hard fact. During COVID, people were finally able to, because of, I said COVID, my bad. Anyway, people were finally able to start looking into more stuff because they were time at home. A lot of people can't look into this stuff because they have to work every day just to exist. So there was an explosion in the conspiracy community and the, you want to call it, woke community. And people are finally starting to realize the game is rigged. And the players of the game are the people who are working and making the money. Like, I've been watching the Hunger Games again with my kids, and I honestly, dude, like, we're not far off of that kind of scenario. And yes, that sounds crazy, and yeah, blah, 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 you hate the country, you should leave. No, I don't hate the country at all. But I think to blindly love our government is ignorant, man. Like, to blindly accept everything that's going on is stupid. Like, we should not be hating one another because we're all in this same boat. We're all out here trying to make a living, trying to survive. That's it. We need to be, you know, on a united front to come up against the people that are really running the show. And how do we do that? We have to not accept the things that we're being told. We have to not choose a side. And what does that mean? It means exactly what I said. Don't choose a side. Stop allowing them to tell you, that this person is evil, that this person is evil, that they did this, they said this. Like, it's stupid. We're not solving anything. Ultimately, we need to have, did you even know that there's third parties, honestly? Like, does anybody know that? Whenever we have a president, we have this crazy third party stuff, and like, essentially you throw away your vote when you vote for a third party. Isn't that kind of crazy? It's almost like they don't exist. They're just there, placeholders to make you think that you have a choice when you don't. Oh, yes, you do. Our votes count. You crazy conspiracy theorist. Yep, I've heard it all. But tell me why third-party candidates are not allowed in debates. Why is it? How come we have these debates and we only get to hear Tweedledee or Tweedledum? We don't get the other parties. Why is that? There should be more than two parties that control the House, and then we wouldn't have these problems. We wouldn't have this 50-50 split or 51-50. Like, no. Our political system needs to expand and be more than just a two-party system. It has to. Like, we need to have, a cap on how much money can go into these campaigns, so like we're not flooded with only the two sources, Republicans or Democrats. That's it. That's all we ever get. Like, some of these people that are in the independents and all that have great ideas, but we can't hear them because they don't have the platform. They don't get to be included in the debates that are on national TV. Imagine if they were. Imagine if they were. Think about that for a second, But the people, again, really running the world, that's not in their best interest. Why is that? Like, when I'm talking about the people who run the world, what do I mean? I'm not talking about the president. To think that the president is the one running the world, or the United States, whatever, is stupid. Like, you can look at the evidence throughout history and know that there's not. It's a facade, if you will. The president is a puppet, and obviously Joe Biden is clearly a puppet. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Trump was a good guy. He wasn't solid, but however, when you have somebody in that category, a president of the United States, coming out and telling you some of the stuff, you need to start thinking about it. Like, he wasn't telling you this from a Republican perspective. He's telling you this from an insider perspective. He's amongst the rich. He's amongst these groups of people. He understands what's really going on. Again, like, most people in the regular day-to-day world don't ever get to look into this information. Don't ever get to think about it. So they capitalize on that. And that's unfortunate, man. But yeah, that's essentially my whole opinion. That's my take on politics as a whole. I'm not a political guy. I refuse. I will not talk politics to anybody. I'll listen to people talk about Trump, or I'll listen to people talk about Biden. Like, honestly, I've never heard anybody say anything good about Biden, but that's irrelevant. But the people that love Trump really, really love him, man. They deify him like he's a god. And that's the other thing, man. We got to get past the fact that these political leaders are gods, because they're really not. We've worshipped our political leaders for way too long, and what do we get out of it? They get to make the rules while we get to do all the work and pay all the bills, essentially. That is what's going on here. They make the rules, we do all the work and pay all the bills. That's crazy. So, pretty good system, right? Oh my goodness. I don't know. My son keeps talking about like the idea, we should go and bomb Russia and all this stuff because of Ukraine, and I keep telling him like I don't agree with that, man. Like, humanity has to stop all this. Has to stop the war, has to stop the killing each other because our political leaders, hey, say this guy's evil, we need to go kill him. Okay, where's your proof? Where's your proof of Paul Pelosi stuff? Where's the proof of this guy's post? Oh, they were conveniently deleted. Imagine that. Conveniently deleted so no one else can verify the data, right? Crazy. Like, it's too much anymore, man. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be quiet anymore about it, because a lot of people need to start looking into this, need to start seeing the truth. And I know the idea of the truth now has also been weaponized. Now, automatically, if you're a truther, you're anti-vax, you're anti-this, and it's just one of those things, man. What is the truth? It's not your truth, it's not my truth, it's the truth. And it's so hard to come to what is the truth because of how much we're being lied to. Like, the lies are on a scale that's unbelievable. We're being lied to about technology. We're being lied to about other governments, what other governments are doing. We were lied to about, for example, weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We were lied to about all of that. And most people are aware of that, and we accept it. And the question is, why? I had a friend, I still have a friend, and a long time ago, I was telling him all this stuff. I get fired up about, political stuff and conspiracy stuff. And he ultimately came to me, he's like, hey, so if we know all this, what are we going to do about it? And that's true. Like, honestly, at the time, I was like, oh, I don't know. Just see it. I don't know what I'm going to do. But the fact is, as a society, we have to do something about it, especially if you recognize it. And I've doubted myself for a long time about seeing stuff and seeing between the lines, and the fact is, I definitely see it. I see patterns, I see the, people lying, and if I'm going to sit back and be quiet, why even read into this? Why even research? And decided I'm not going to. I'm going to use whatever platform I can find. I'm going to talk to people and get people thinking. I don't want you to think a certain way. What I want you to do is think. That has always been my goal. That's all I want, is for people to think and question the world around them and not accept things as they are because you've been told to. Ultimately, it's like in the movie, like in the Hunger Games that we've been watching. There's like the people in the Capitol just accept that they're putting these people in these games and killing them one by one, and they're just, oh my goodness, this is awesome. We're watching this as entertainment. And it's crazy. When all it takes is for people to stand up and be like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to accept this constant state of war and turmoil that the world is in. When we can make a change, we can be different. We can come together as one people in this world, help each other, and instead of spending trillions of dollars on war, maybe we can spend trillions of dollars advancing as a civilization. Like, that's what I want to see. Like, not all this stupid nonsense where some people have all the money and make all the rules and never get out of office. No, man, this is stupid. This whole system. And again, I'm sure there'll be people that'll message me and be like, oh, why don't you just leave the country if you hate it? Never once said I hate it. What I hate is the way it's being run by both sides of the political spectrum. Ultimately, again, I will not choose a side. And again, I'm out of time for the day, but this is Josh with the Synchronized Universe podcast. It was good getting on here, venting a little bit. Sorry for my few curse words if you get to this point. Anyway, again, Alex, hope you have a wonderful day, sir. Check you out later.